found this podcast a few days ago by Brian Koppelman, who's the co-creator and producer of the Showtime show Billions. And in today's video, I want to run through a few of my favorite episodes and some of the takeaways I've gotten there. The way that he approaches interviews with these celebrities. He talks to a lot of writers and a lot of Food Network chefs. And because he's built such a rapport with his guests in the past, he's able to get them to open up and talk in a way that I hadn't seen publicly from a lot of these figures. For instance, Guy Fieri, there's an hour-and-a-half podcast where he talks about his 40 restaurants he's running, how he started diners, drive-ins, and dives, how he approaches business, and it's phenomenal to see the man behind the meme. I just knew him from his blonde, spiky hair. I didn't know he was a master businessman. But that was just the intro. Let's jump into it. Number one is Christina Tosi. Christina is the CEO of Milk Bar, which is a restaurant out in New York. They've got them in LA and around the world now as well, where they sell extremely sweet ice cream. And they were actually known for inventing the cornflake ice cream flavor. I usually go there for the birthday cake shakes. But she said in this podcast, most people will let you work somewhere for free if you ask and you show up. Christina's entire career was shaped by her showing up at some of the top restaurants in New York and offering to work for free for months. And she was self-supported. She didn't have parents funding her throughout the journey. And she talks about just showing up and being bullied in these kitchens by people that have been there longer, and just taking the bullying and becoming comrades because she needed to learn. And I think that's so interesting. When you offer to work for free somewhere, as long as you present that offer in the right way, there's no reason the other person will say no to it. We got one of our first projects at Garblick doing that, working for free to do this animation for Pauly Shore. And we did the same thing at the first agency I was working at. I did their marketing for free for 4 or 5 months while I was still a full-time sales guy. Number two is Eric Heiserer. He's the writer of Arrival and a bunch of other screenplays like that. Here's the quote from the podcast. I've written 61 screenplays and a fraction of them have made it to the screen. Later on in the podcast, he says that it's 6 out of 61. And most people could see that and say, why write a screenplay at all? If only 6 of my 61 screenplays are gonna make it to the screen, why am I even doing this? But an entrepreneur is gonna look at that and say, that's a 10% conversion rate. 1 out of 10, as long as they're good screenplays, are gonna get bought, they're gonna get paid for. 10% conversion rate is about the same as you're gonna see selling any agency project. Might as well go for something you love. If you think about the movie business being one of the most competitive fields in the world, which I've heard a few times, 10% conversion rate isn't that bad. The new business failure rate in general, they say 90% of new businesses fail. Starting an entrepreneurial venture and having it succeed and selling a screenplay have the exact same conversion rate. And it makes me wonder about the other dreams that we all put off in pursuit of money. Maybe you want to write a musical, maybe you want to write pop songs or paint pictures. You actually have a very high chance of selling that stuff, or at least an equal chance of selling that stuff and living your dream as starting an agency or starting any other sort of company. And the last one from the Brian Koppelman podcast is an interview with Alton Brown, who ran Good Eats on the Food Network and has a bunch of other shows on the Food Network as well. And his quote was, "The truth is, in most of my life, I am a reactor. There are only 5 times in life that I've rolled big dice to do something." And Alton was talking about when he moved cities so that he could set himself up at an agency that he knew would create an REM music video, which launched his entire directing career, which set him up to get the Food Network show later on. And it's a big point he makes. A lot of these top performers are in maintenance mode most of the time, just heads down, working. But it's those 4 or 5 decisions in life that separate them. For me, it was probably moving to New York after college, and a few years later pushing my boss to let me do marketing for the company. That's only 2 decisions that put me on this trajectory. Where can you take a big risk and try to get yourself to the next level? Koppelman's podcast is called The Moment, and you can check that out on iTunes. You can also probably just Google The Moment Brian Koppelman. If you found this video valuable, I'd love if you would pass it along to a friend or two. We're trying to hit 100,000 subs, so every share counts. Also, if you're into sales and you want to see the exact questions we ask on our initial sales calls, I've got that discovery call script down in the comments below. You can sign up for that. It's totally free. Thanks.